All right, today we're diving into something pretty cool, a new AI from Alibaba Group that's basically learning how to think twice. It's called Ovis 2.5, and it's taking a serious shot at fixing some of the most annoying problems we see in AI today. You ever try this? You feed an AI a really complex chart from a research paper, and the answer it gives back is just completely wrong. Or maybe you try to get it to read the tiny text on a product label in a photo, and it just can't. Yeah, you're not alone. This is a massive hurdle, even for the biggest, most powerful AI models out there. So let's get into it. The researchers behind Ovis 2.5 say that these kinds of failures really boil down to two major issues. Think of them as two giant blind spots that have been holding these multimodal AIs back for a while now. Okay, so the first one is what they call rigid vision, and the second is linear thinking. Rigid vision means that most AIs have to chop up images into these little fixed-size squares. Well, as you can imagine, that can totally wreck the context or just lose the tiny details that matter. And linear thinking, that means the AI just plows ahead with its first train of thought, and it never ever stops to ask itself, hey, wait a second, does my own logic even make sense? It just can't self-correct. So to tackle that first problem, the whole rigid vision thing, Ovis 2.5 introduces a completely different way for an AI to actually see the world. The secret sauce here is a technology called NAVIT, which stands for Native Resolution Vision Transformer. And honestly, this is a real game changer. Why? Because instead of trying to cram every image into the same sized box, it looks at pictures at their original size and their original shape. Think about the old way, tiling like this. Imagine you're trying to read a newspaper, but you can only look at it through a bunch of tiny little holes. You'd see a word here, a piece of a photo there, but you totally miss the giant headline, the layout, and how all the stories actually fit together. But with this new native perception, it's like Ovis 2.5 gets to see the entire newspaper page all at once. That tiny footnote on a scientific chart, that subtle trend in a financial graph, the super fine print on a legal document, it's all there, crystal clear, giving the AI the full picture it needs to actually understand what it's looking at. But fixing vision is only half the battle. Ovis 2.5 also goes after that second problem, that straight line, no second thoughts kind of thinking, with a feature that sounds incredibly human. I just love this quote. It's pulled right from their technical report. The whole point wasn't just to make an AI that can spit out answers. It was to teach it to, quote, perform reflection, including self-checking and revision. See, it's not just about getting an answer. It's about having a process to make sure it's the right answer. So how does that actually work? Well, for the really tough problems, Ovis 2.5 has this optional thinking mode. First, it gives an initial answer and lays out its reasoning. Then, and this is the crucial part, it stops and critiques its own work. It asks, is my logic solid? Did I maybe misread that data point? And finally, based on that self-check, it revises and sharpens its final response. It's this little cognitive loop, and it's built to catch mistakes before they even get to you. A new way of seeing, a new way of thinking. It all sounds amazing in theory, right? But does this whole reflection process actually lead to better results? Well, the numbers say it absolutely does. Let's take a look at how Ovis 2.5 stacks up. So the big flashy number you need to see is 78.3. That's the average score the 9 billion parameter version of Ovis 2.5 got on the big Open Compass leaderboard. And yeah, that score is a new state-of-the-art for open source models in its weight class. This score puts it right at the top of the pack. I mean, the 9 billion parameter model isn't just a huge jump over its own predecessor, it's also outperforming some of the biggest proprietary models out there, including GPT-4o on this particular set of tests. And if you really dig into the data, you can see where this thing truly shines. It's not just about the overall average. It's a beast in some of the hardest categories. Ovis 2.5 is ranking #1 among its open source peers in these notoriously tricky areas, like analyzing complex charts and recognizing text in 2 different languages. It shows that these new skills are making a huge difference right where it counts. Okay, so it tops leaderboards, it aces the hard tests, that's great. But what does any of this actually mean for how we might use AI in the real world? Well, these big technical steps forward lead to some really tangible benefits for all of us. First off, there's a smaller 2 billion parameter model that's still super powerful. That means we could start seeing much smarter AI running right on our phones, no cloud required. It also means more dependable tools for scientists and data analysts. And maybe the biggest deal of all, That self-checking process could mean way, way fewer of those bizarre, totally confident, but completely wrong hallucinations that we see from AIs all the time. And all of this kind of brings us to one last big idea to chew on. We're now looking at an AI that can reflect on its own work and fix its own mistakes. That's a cognitive step that feels deeply human. So it really makes you wonder, if an AI can learn to correct itself, what's the next human skill it's going to master?